All right. Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here with Mark Silver. A lot of you already know who Mark is. If you don't know, Mark is the founder of Heart of Business. And if you haven't checked out Heart of Business, you've got to take a look. The website, the Facebook page. I'll put all the links below so that you can check it out. Because Mark has been. I'll just say a little bit, Mark, before I let you say a word. But Mark has been really advocating for authentic or conscious or ethical business practices, marketing, especially for those of us who are self-employed. He's been doing this before I came on the scene. So I have learned a lot from Mark myself. So has a lot of the people a lot of you here and a lot of people that I've talked to. So I'm really honored whenever I get to talk with Mark, and I hope you'll get to learn from him as well. Take a look at, he has generous content on all the different social platforms. His programs are beautifully run and beautifully marketed. So it's worth joining his email list, of course, to find out about his upcoming programs, check out his content, but also just to see how he does it. I always enjoy looking at any emails that come in from him. So anyway, without further ado, Mark, great to have you here. Thank you for joining me again for this. And
I'm so delighted, George. We've known each other for some years now. I've kind of lost track of when we first
yeah,
met.
it's okay. We don't have to count. It'll age us.
Right, it's
Yeah. So it's really good. And uh, is there anything else you want to say, by the way, about Heart of Business or as way of intro or?
well, I mean, the only thing that I like to kind of add is that I my heart really likes to sit at this intersection of you know, practical embodied spiritual connection and small business like human scale ethical business and social justice. And I won't get into it, but it's like there's the marketplace, the economy is really broken. And if we're going to live in a world that can be really beautiful, that we all really want to be a part of, we're kind of walking this middle space between trying to presence a world that could really nourish everybody and not leave people out, and still trying to keep the lights on and keep food on your table, and hopefully do better than that, hopefully really
Yeah,
thrive. And so
yeah,
um, I just like to keep it in context because the business has been so um, it's been so abused. It's been dealt with terribly over the last couple few centuries, really, and especially badly this last century. And yet, small business owners are an integral part of, I think, the healing that's needed. So,
yes. I thank you for bringing that in. I appreciate it. So yes, there is a deep through line of both practical spirituality and social justice in your work, and I think it's really important. I think yeah, it's like if we're going to spend so much of our time doing business, it might as well also contribute to our spiritual growth and our sort of contribution to humanity and society, and not just to the bottom line, right? But still, a lot of people watching this are aiming to build a financially viable business,
I
and
hope so.
hopefully thriving. And yeah, and one of the many sort of areas I think that you thrive in is teaching people the conversation that they have with their prospective clients. So some people call it the sales conversation. Some people call it, a discovery call, or just, it doesn't necessarily have to be a call, but of course, that is a very important moment. But it's just the overall kind of relationship we have. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to let you start getting into this topic because it's so important, and um, you know, yeah. So if it's not done well, it often actually pushes, like, we don't even realize we're pushing prospective clients away
Right.
unnecessarily. It's like, but anyway, yeah, share with us what you have in
Yeah.
mind.
I mean, this topic is it's an ongoing source of pain for so many people, and sometimes confusion. Like, well, what happened? Like, I was talking to somebody, and they either got bored, or they wandered away, or maybe they came in for a single session, but didn't continue, and and so many people feel such a weight on their hearts around it. And it's funny. Um, I was thinking about this context. I was when I was a kid, pancakes were such a treat, and they seemed like such a special thing. And but now as an adult, it's like, if we want to make pancakes in our house, like it takes me 15 minutes to whip it. Like they're simple. They're really simple to make, but it's like I think that a lot of business owners can think like, "Oh my goodness, the business, this enrollment conversation is such a special big thing, and it's a and it's when you see it clearly, it's it's much simpler and much more nourishing than you think. I've had people learn how to do a sales conversation from the heart, and say, "Wow, I didn't know it could be this fun." And my clients are telling me that, I'd never had such a fun time on a sales conversation. It's like it can be really nourishing,
It could be like
and
serving them pancakes.
it can be. It can be. It actually is. And it's one of the things I love to see with our clients is like as they learn to love these aspects that seem so scary or difficult or, like a big deal beforehand. Um, because it's wonderful to get a client and get paid and be able to do the work, but that getting there should not be so painful, right? So, so one of the insights that I had when I realized that I was good at doing the sales conversation, and I didn't realize why am I kind of good at this? Like why does this work? I have no sales background. I'm not a salesperson. I hadn't really gone through sales training as when I was figuring this out. But what I did have is I had a background. I was a paramedic in the San Francisco Bay Area for 8 years, and I worked in Oakland, I worked in Vallejo, I worked in Fairfield, I worked in, a variety of places. And the key insight that it's like if you're only listening this far and then you walk away, like this is a good takeaway, is that the sales conversation is not telling people how you do something. Like most people think about the sales conversation like, oh, I somehow have to tell them about my work in such a way that they're so wowed by it that they want to sign up. And people end up giving lectures that would be appropriate to students who want to learn how to do what you do, but it's totally boring. Like if I were to start doing some kind of esoteric Sufi healing lecture, like I was talking to a Sufi student, like, and that's my spiritual lineage is Sufi Islam, and but blah, like it doesn't feel good to anybody. But what I got really good at as a paramedic is doing really rapid, accurate assessments. Like I knew how to kind of jump in with someone who didn't really know how to talk about what was going on with them, didn't know what points were important and what points weren't important, and to be able to listen with empathy and with care so somebody feels safe and trusting enough so they could relax even when they're having a really difficult time, and ask a bunch of questions and I can get clear on what they need. The assumption that we have going into the sales conversation is that our clients are adults. They're adults. They don't need to be convinced. They don't need to be manipulated. They don't need high pressure. They don't want, and it doesn't feel good to do any kind of high pressure manipulation. If you buy before you hang up, I'll give you $5,000 off. Oh my God, all that kind of gross, weird stuff that gets taught is painful to the heart. And it's actually really painful to the business because even when someone does it, quote unquote, well and gets clients, they don't get repeat clients. I talk to so many people who are like, God, I will never recommend that person. Their work is okay, but the way they did the sales call with me was so pressured, it was gross, and I just still have a bad taste in my mouth about it. And you want referrals, you want people talking well about you. So this is the essence of the sales calls, that it's an assessment. It's an assessment. And I want to name three elements that I think will be that will help people kind of get into it. And we don't really have time to do the whole
Yeah, and I just want to say real
thing.
brief. I mean, I think it's brilliant, and I love that you brought in the analogy or the background of the paramedic work. It's like, yeah, it's like quickly understand how can I actually help them. It's like,
Right,
right, it's like if their
right,
arm is hurting, we got to make sure that it's stable or whatever. I mean, I don't know. But
right,
it's brilliant, and it's like when we actually understand enough to go, oh my god, I can help you. then
right,
then it becomes a more genuine, but to say I can actually
right,
help you. Like I'm actually
right,
excited about this.
right,
Rather than
exactly.
I have no idea who you are, but I had to go through this script that I prepared because supposedly if I go through the script, you will say yes.
Right, 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 exactly. It's so painful, and people reach for a script because they feel uncertain and they want some safety or some, security in the conversation. But the script actually doesn't give you that. You still feel uncertain because you're not being yourself, and it's not really helpful to the person. But yeah, people. I mean, I know because people have we share clients, people who've worked with us have also worked with you. I hear wonderful things about your work all the time from people. I'm just which I already knew your stuff was good, but I hear that ongoing. And you know and your people, my people, are this audience, this larger audience of all of us that care. We care that we can help people. And so asking from a place of genuine curiosity, of like, wow, what's going on, tell me what what tell me about your situation, tell me about what you've been facing, tell me about what you've already tried to do to try to make things better, tell me about where you're stuck, tell me about where you're trying to get to, just tell me all the things. Now, it does take some practice to stay focused because these conversations can get very wide ranging, um, and if you're not focused on trying to find how you can help, these conversations can become very lengthy because people have such a deep need to feel seen and heard. And one of the things that can help um, shorten the conversations is when you're clear about how to do your assessments. One of the things that I like to see clients do, um, before they get into the conversations, to think about, like, what information do you need to know. As a paramedic, I was trained about, okay, all these questions and these decision trees, like ask about this, and if it's this or this, then you go this way and ask all these other questions. For me, talking to a client about their business, I'm trying to find, like, where are they in the stages of development, what have they done, where are their places that they get hung up with, where are their strengths, where it's like, you, you in your specialty, you probably, if you sit down and think about it, can start to identify, what do I really need to know in order to help somebody, in order to know whether I can help somebody. And I can start to visualize, like, oh, click, I've just learned enough where I can start to chart a path for them, And speaking as a spiritual healer, I'm not saying, like, oh, 8 steps to perfect enlightenment or complete healing with, it's like all of this is a little bit uncertain. I have a story from an acupuncturist who, I was actually seeing, and I had been doing some consulting with the clinic that she worked with, and I came in so sick. Our twins, who are now 12-year-old, were so small, and I was just depleted and so sick. And she did a session on me, and it was wonderful. And I said, okay, so what do I do next? And she says, oh, the normal thing that people say, oh, come in when you want to. And I'm like, Jenny, because she and I had this, we had this conversation around business and marketing because of the work I'd done for the clinic. And she knew, she knew exactly what I needed. She was just holding back on it. She said,
Mm,
come in weekly for 3 months, and I'm going to, I'm pretty sure that we're going to, remember, she wasn't promising results. I'm pretty
right,
sure, based on my experience,
right,
we're going to have you feeling a lot better. Then we can go to twice a month, then we can go to once a month. It's
right,
like she knew in general what what your clients need. And
right.
so that conversation, you're looking for two things to kind of be met in the conversation. One is that You have this path charted out in your mind, at least somewhat. And they've spoken enough so that they feel like you really see them, so that they feel witnessed. We all want to be seen, not as broken. We want to be seen in our struggle for empathy, but not as broken. And when people really feel witnessed and feel like, okay, this person really gets me, they really see what I've been doing, they see how I've been trying. And, it's like they get this sense that, oh, this is relevant for me. Like what they're proposing, because I feel heard, I trust that what they're proposing actually matches what I'm describing instead of some kind of like canned solution. So, this is the first of three elements that I think is really important in the conversation is, and I'm spending the most time on this because it's in some sense the easiest to get your arms around, um, is to have this sense of assessment, this what I call compassionate questioning, this focused, compassionate, empathetic questioning until they feel seen, they feel heard, and you get a sense of the path forward. And people report there's like this energetic click in the conversation. There's like, when you get to that point.
It's brilliant. Yes, absolutely. So you've got these three parts. And by the way, given that unfortunately we don't have the time to get into the depths of all this, you
Mm-hmm.
do have you do have a program where you
Mm-hmm.
kind of lead people deeper into this stuff. So for those of
Yes.
you who
Yeah.
actually want to work with Mark, work with Heart of Business on practicing these elements of the sales conversation and other
Mm-hmm.
things. But anyway, I'll be sure to put the links below so that people don't feel like, okay, that's it.
Right,
So
right,
there's there's
right.
there's more.
Well,
There's
I mean,
more.
and
But
it's yeah, and it's like the conversation goes really smoothly. But if you
yeah,
take each piece
right.
and magnify, with give it the attention it needs, it becomes so much easier to learn it. But yeah, it does. It can take a few weeks to kind of go through and really settle into all these pieces. But that's the first piece. So another piece that I'm going to just spend a little bit of time with today has to do with packaging your offer. And I just want to say a couple of very brief things about this because this is also a huge topic. And we have a whole module. We have a module in our learning community about sacred selling, and we have a module about crafting your offer. And the crafting your offer piece is important because you have to know what you're selling. And most people are just selling sessions. People don't want to buy sessions. They they're struggling with something and they want a resolution. They want to arrive somewhere, you know? I'm in pain and I don't want to be in pain anymore. I want my business to work, or, whatever it is. There's so many different pieces to this.
I just want to chime in real quick. It's interesting because the people who only want to buy a session or two, let's just put it, it's probably not the most ideal client for
Hmm.
for us. It's like people who are just dabbling, like, oh, I just want to just this or that. And sometimes,
Hmm.
yes, when that one session can turn into more, but it's like the people
Right,
who are saying, just like you said, I actually want to solve the problem or I actually want to have that
right,
transformation.
right,
Wow. And
right.
it's like if we can talk to those people in our minds and that's actually what a lot of people want. So thank
It's
you.
what it's, and people are adults. Remember, I said that we start with the assumption that our clients are adults and they get what's up. They know that there's not a miracle solution and that you're not just going to make it go away in a single session. There's trust that's built. And I mention it also because this is about a treatment arc. No matter, you may not be a medical, your business may not be about helping people in a medical or physical or emotional sense, but it's whatever it is, we are talking about a treatment arc, even in terms of the work you and I do with business. And we're not and so a packaging is not about a discount. It's not about like a baker's dozen of sessions, like, oh, if you buy so many you get a discount. Don't like drop that frame, because that's not why people are wanting to work with you. People aren't buying because of the discount. you know they're buying because they need the help, and they've learned to trust you about it. And so
So
taking the
yes,
time to package your work.
yeah, totally. And sorry to interrupt, but speaking of
Mm,
taking the time, I want to make sure we don't we don't do it injustice by saying it too bad,
No.
too fast. But you've got the compassionate questioning, the assessment. You've got the
Mm-hmm.
packaging, and then
Mm-hmm.
just touch on the third one so that people are aware of what's there.
Right.
But I
Because
want
I
to
know
make
we're
sure
trying to
people know.
keep this short because we want
Yeah,
people to be able to take it in, and we don't want to,
yeah,
a whole class here. Because the third one has to do with connection,
mm,
and it has to do with because a lot of people come into this with a lot of neediness. It's like, oh my God, I need this client because I need to pay the rent, or
yeah,
I
yeah,
have bills, or what,
yeah,
or I want to feel appreciated.
yeah.
And there's a whole process that we teach around first just acknowledging how you're feeling and what's true, like
Hmm.
the neediness, the pain, all of that, not bringing that unconsciously to the client.
Mm,
So much space for that. And then connecting to the divine, however we talk about that, people talk about it in a lot of different ways, but bringing that deep thirst in your heart to the divine, to be filled with a remembrance of the source of love.
yeah.
And so as your heart fills with love, that neediness shifts to desire, because you start to feel like, oh, I am cared for. And then you can move from neediness to desire to really that place we were talking about before, about really just wanting to be of service, because then you can connect heart to heart with the person, and you can just bow in service to them. And when people feel that energetically from you, that you're not trying to take money from them, even though you're very happy to receive the financial support of the payment from them, but you're there to be in service, the transmission feels different. People feel that. No joke. And so when you put these three pieces together, taking the time to learn how to connect in the heart and to really be of service, when you have an offer that people actually want because it gets them somewhere and it's not just a session, and then you have a really focused way to hold the assessment conversation, these sales conversations go so smoothly and so beautifully, even if it's a no, even if like, oh, okay, this isn't the right fit, but at least it felt good.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And sometimes the no turns into referrals
It
because they had a
does.
good
It
experience.
does.
But I want
Exactly.
to, since we only have a few minutes, I want to make sure people know about the Heart of Business community, because this is
Mhm.
where you're able to support them more than just a 20-minute video
Right.
or a blog post, but we're able to actually support them in
Yeah.
that treatment arc that you provide for
Hmm.
people. So the Heart of Business
Right.
community is a paid membership where they get the programs, the trainings. They get a community, a beautiful community that
Hmm.
you facilitate along with your coaches. You have coaches that facilitate it. Anyway, say more about that to the.
Yeah. I mean, the basic thing that I came to was that it's impossible to develop a business inside a course completely from creation all the way to when the business is really in momentum. One, because it often takes 2 to 4 years to go that distance, and two, because we're human and we can't often keep up. Like most people who take courses only implement 10, 20, 30%, and we have to do it iteratively. We have to do it once and see how it goes, and then again. So this community is priced at pay from the heart. It's meant to be deeply supportive. It has training, it has coaching, it has compassionate accountability, and it's really like leans into the 20 years of experience I have helping thousands of people develop businesses. And it's such a beautiful, generous community. I was just reading a post about someone was saying on this very topic, like, hey, let's practice the sales conversation. Let's get on calls with each other. And I'm watching people practice with each other and have breakthroughs so that they go on and talk to actual potential clients and enroll people and get clients and get paid. It's just our specialty at Heart of Business is helping businesses in the learning community. Our specialty is people in earlier stages. Maybe you're just getting started. Maybe you've only made like 3 or 4 figures or low 5 figures in a year, and getting you to the high 5 figures, low 6 figures over the course of this span of time in an organic, heart centered way that feels really good.
Awesome. Well, Mark, I hope people will look into it. It's always a joy to be with you. Thank you for sharing about
Mhm.
the sales conversation. I think that's really helpful for those. So everyone watching this, listening, the next time you talk to the prospective client, I hope you'll remember these points. And I hope you also check out Mark's, whether or not you're the right fit for the heart of business community, at least take a look at the blog posts, the videos. I think you'll get a lot of nourishment from it. So,
Thank you,
Mark,
George.
thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for inviting me in. Bless you.